Christmas is meant to be a time of joy and family, but for Emily and Sam, it became something far more sinister. Alone in their grandmother's old house, deep in the woods, they thought they were safe from the rumors of what lurked inside, until the footsteps began. What started as innocent holiday fun quickly spiraled into a nightmare they couldn't escape. This is the story of how Christmas can turn into your worst fear. It was a chilly December night, just a few days before Christmas, when Emily and her younger brother Sam moved into their late grandmother's house. Their grandmother had passed away a month prior, and the house was left to their mother, who decided that it would be a good idea to spend the holidays there, despite the strange reputation the house had. The house sat on the outskirts of a small town, surrounded by thick woods. It was old, creaky, and cast long shadows that seemed to stretch unnaturally across the snow-covered ground. Locals whispered about the house for years, claiming that it was haunted, and that something sinister lurked in the attic. But Emily and Sam were too focused on the excitement of Christmas to pay much attention to these rumors. Their mother had left the day after they arrived, heading back to the city to finish work, leaving Emily, who was 18, in charge of her 12-year-old brother. Emily was nervous at first, but after setting up the Christmas tree and hanging up decorations, the cozy glow of the holiday lights made her feel more at ease. But as the sun set on that first night, things started to feel off. It began with the lights flickering. Emily brushed it off as old wiring. Then there was the scratching sound coming from the attic. Sam, being the curious one, wanted to explore, but Emily refused, telling him it was probably just a raccoon. That night, Emily had trouble sleeping. Every time she closed her eyes, she heard faint footsteps echoing through the halls, like someone was pacing outside her room. She assumed it was Sam, but when she checked, he was fast asleep. The footsteps continued, slowly, deliberately, and they seemed to be coming closer. Her heart raced as she pulled the blankets over her head, convincing herself it was just her imagination. The next morning, Sam was unusually quiet. Emily asked him what was wrong, and he hesitated before finally saying, "I saw something last night." Her stomach dropped. Sam wasn't one to make things up. "I thought I saw Santa," he whispered, "but he was standing at the foot of my bed, and he didn't look like Santa. His face was all wrong." Emily laughed nervously, trying to brush it off, but she couldn't shake the uneasy feeling that lingered in the air. That night, as they sat by the fire drinking hot cocoa, Emily noticed something strange on the Christmas tree. An ornament she hadn't put up was hanging near the top. It was a small, carved wooden figure of a man, dressed in old-fashioned clothes with hollow, empty eyes. She asked Sam if he had found it, but he shook his head. The next few nights grew progressively worse. The footsteps became louder, the lights flickered more frequently, and Emily started having strange, vivid dreams. In her dreams, she was walking through the house, but it wasn't decorated for Christmas. It was dark, cold, and filled with shadowy figures that whispered her name. She could hear the sound of something heavy dragging across the floor, like someone pulling a sack of presents. But the presents inside were moving. One night, Sam woke up screaming. Emily rushed to his room, and he was shaking uncontrollably, pointing toward the window. "He was outside," Sam cried. "He was staring at me, Emily, the man from the ornament." Emily's heart pounded in her chest as she tried to calm her brother down. She looked out the window, but there was nothing there, just the snowy landscape, still and silent. But deep down, she knew something was wrong. Desperate for answers, Emily decided to go up to the attic, the place she had avoided since they arrived. Armed with a flashlight, she climbed the creaky stairs, her heart racing with every step. The attic was dark and dusty, filled with old furniture and boxes. But in the corner, hidden beneath an old sheet, she found a large wooden chest. Inside the chest were old Christmas decorations and letters, yellowed with age. As she dug through them, she found a newspaper clipping from decades ago. It was about a man who had lived in the house, a man who had been known for dressing up as Santa and visiting children on Christmas Eve. But one Christmas, he had gone mad, killing his entire family in the house before disappearing into the woods, never to be seen again. His body was never found. Emily's blood ran cold as she read the last line. Locals believe his spirit haunts the house to this day, seeking revenge on any who disturb his peace during the holidays. Suddenly, the attic door slammed shut. Emily dropped the flashlight, her hands trembling. The footsteps were back, louder than ever, and this time they were coming up the stairs. She ran down the stairs, grabbing Sam by the hand, and they bolted for the front door. But as they reached for the doorknob, they froze. Standing in the doorway was a tall, shadowy figure, wearing a torn, blood-stained Santa suit. His face was twisted in a grotesque grin, and his hollow eyes stared straight at them. The figure stepped closer, dragging a large sack behind him, and whispered in a raspy voice, "I've come for my gifts." Emily screamed, grabbing Sam and pulling him toward the back door. They ran through the snow-covered yard, not daring to look back. Behind them, they could hear the sound of the sack dragging across the ground, getting closer and closer. They didn't stop running until they reached the edge of the woods, where they collapsed, out of breath. The house loomed in the distance, dark and foreboding. The figure was gone, but they knew they couldn't go back. As they sat there, shivering in the cold, Emily realized that the nightmare wasn't over. The man in the Santa suit was still out there, waiting, watching. And Christmas was only a few days away. Because in Willow Creek, no one is ever truly safe. The nightmare may have ended for now, but for those who stay in that house, it's only just beginning. If you enjoyed this chilling tale, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more spine-tingling stories. And remember, sometimes the scariest things happen when you least expect them.